Alrighty. Hello everybody. This is Kirusho here, and now, before we do begin, let me just say something. You guys are probably confused as to why I'm recording Minishots. Right now, I decided while I was sorting through a lot of different things to record because I got bored and started thinking about story ideas. So, while I'm trying to get a few more things sorted out, and I do plan on being a bit more busy today, I do want to record at least this one. Now, that being said, let me begin. As one of these stories does typically go, these two, they meet later on. However, let us start with Izuku and how his life has been. Now, Izuku Midoriya, things were not very easy for him when life began. His mother and father, they met. One thing led to another, and eventually he was born. His mother, she was a nice, kind person. However, his father was anything but. He's a man who's had to do bad things. And those bad things would eventually catch up with him. For the first few years of Izuku's life, he was happy. Things were simple, things were easy. And then there was the day his father never came home. He just disappeared. And that had him confused. When he tried to ask his mother about it, she didn't tell him very much. But they didn't stay in that place for very long. Eventually, they left a week later and they were somewhere else. Inko didn't say too much about it. She knew her husband's line of work. She knew about it. Yes, she did not like it, but she understood it. And she didn't want to lie to her son, but revealing the harsh truth about it, his father will never return, was not something that she wanted to tell him. And Deku, he saw how his mom was acting. Strange, off. Sometimes he'd catch her crying. She'd wipe away her tears quickly and leave. Or he would just sometimes hear her at night. It didn't make sense. Eventually, he was able to put some pieces together. He wasn't stupid. And whenever he finally asked his mom about it, she didn't know what to say to him. She just avoided the question. And that's all Deku needed to hear. However, things took another turn. 3 years after his father died, his mother died. And Izuku, he was taken into an orphanage, where people, they were eager to find him. And he was a bit confused. He didn't talk at first. People didn't know why. However, when these people found Izuku, they were happy. And Deku, when he saw them, they were eager to see what he could do. If they're right, this is Sasashi's boy. And he'll be exactly what they need. And that's where Deku started his life. At the age of 9 years old, with blood on his hands. That was the beginning for him. And we do have years later. Deku currently does sit at a bar. He's over 20 years old, and he's got a lot going on in his mind. A lot of things that just don't seem to make sense sometimes. Social lubricant. That's what people call alcohol. It's something that can aggravate you, make you mad, make you sad, but other times it can help to steady the hands, help loosen things up for you. Feel all that wear and tear run away from your muscles, almost like you just sat down in a hot spring bath. That nice burn, that nice chill you get when the drink is just a little bit colder than you expect. That feeling you have, that little bit of hate you have whenever you take the first sip. It's something that he can understand. It's something he does quite enjoy. And he does look down at his glass, an old-fashioned, as his turn to his phone, waiting for a contact to message him. And so far, there's been nothing. He's been here for about an hour. A guy's going over the time frame, looking at his watch, and if he's correct, then there's not much time left. If he is to be contacted about this job, he's got about bring up his wrist, looking on the inside and seeing that his watch does read the time. He's got about 40 minutes left before he packs things up and leaves. He'll get a call, and then when he does confirm his own identity, then they sit and have a chat. They'll go privately somewhere else and see about this latest person of interest. And that does mean a bit. Right now, however, he has a turn. Seeing somebody at the end of the bar, and they do have a similar look to him. Their eyes are fixated on that drink of theirs, and he does get to stare at that. A woman with purple hair, pink hair, lighter, darker, and that expression that seems a little distant, like her mind's somewhere else. Her thoughts are trying to bore a hole into that damn drink, almost punch through it. And he does get to recognize it. She's a pro. A little older, more experienced, definitely has seen a few things. He has to watch her kill the rest of her drink before she's to look up, and Deku does get a turn, sipping his own as he does get to think. Okay, so what is his contact supposed to be? Not much information, but he'd know who they are when he sees them. Possibly the pro, possibly the businessman behind him to his right, or the woman in the red dress down to his left. Maybe not. Though, Deku turning his head slightly, looking around the room, and going to see a few of the people. There's a group of businessmen there sitting who do have briefcases. Possibly on a work trip? No, he heard them discussing a few things about financing earlier. Business? Possibly an insurance company. Though, if he's right, this bar isn't too far away from a large company headquarters. Right. Not his people, turning his head, seeing a few other women who are talking about a few things and whispering to each other. He does assume that they're probably out on a bit of a bar hopping spree. One of them walking over and going to sit down, as they do get to ask him exactly if he's got a staring problem. I'm sorry. Just looking off a little bit. Got a few things on my mind. Really now? Them bring their hand up, going to grab him by his forearm and talk about it, running their hand along the black suit, asking him exactly if he's got time for a drink. Not really. I'm here on business, not pleasure. So I will have to give you a bit of a rain check on that. Really now? So, you couldn't even buy a girl a drink? Unfortunately, no. I'm sure you understand. Though, I'm sure you and your Deku leaning back a little, looking over and seeing the other two, who do go somewhat wave at him, talking about it. He's fairly certain that her and her friends will be quite fine. It'll be alright. He is sorry to take a bit of a rain check, but that's really about it. So what's up with the scar? Her bring her hand up, and over Deku does get to bring up his own right hand, stopping her. He has to grab her by her wrist. talking about it. He doesn't like people pointing that out. Please leave. Her is staring at him, and his eyes went from soft to immediately hard. Her a bit intimidated and feeling a little threatened, especially with how strong his grip is. And the bartender does it a walkover, setting down a drink, talking about it. Deku turning his head, as the man does let go of her, talking about it. He does apologize for that. You're quite fine. Ma'am, please do not disturb the patrons. He was here alone, and I'm fairly certain he would not like to be disturbed. I didn't order another drink. I know. This is compliments from the woman over there. Deku turning his head, as the person does walk away from him, and she does bring her hand up, somewhat smiling towards Izuku. And he does gonna talk about it. Funny enough. Thanks. How about this? You pour her another one of what she's drinking. I assume that would be the response. I'll get right on that. Thank you. The person going to begin mixing the drink. Deku watching carefully. He does begin to pour in different liqueurs. He does then put some ice in, shake it up, and then pour it into a fancy glass. Before he does go to grab a straw by the middle. Him going to go over and going to sit it down. Him sliding the drink forward and telling the woman exactly about how the man bought her a drink as well. And she has a turn. This time, Deku being the one who does bring up his drink, giving her a smile as he does go to stand. Her nodding her head as Deku does go to walk over. Sitting down on the seat next to her at the bar, talking about it. The two sitting at the end. Well, isn't this quite nice? And nice to meet you. Are you alright? I'm fine. I haven't seen you here before. I'm a little new in town, you could say. Are you? Well, it's nice to meet you. Deku bring up his hand, expressing. His name is Izuku. Kana. My name's Kana. The two shaking hands. And Deku, he does get to register a firm handshake. And she has to look down, a little surprised at the strength in his hand, asking him, so why is he in town? On business. I was supposed to be meeting somebody here, but... Him raising up his left hand, looking at the inside of his wrist at his watch, telling her, it does appear that his business partner is not here yet. What do you do? I'm a bit of on contract jobs. I do hope you understand. I am under an NDA, so I cannot really talk too much about it other than that. Though, what about you? Me? Yes, you. You're looking around the room. You're observing it. You're scanning it. Is it that obvious? Little bit. Though my quirk does allow me to do a lot of things. Your quirk? Well, now, that does sound interesting. If I am to ask, I'd rather keep it private. Unfortunately for me, there are a lot of people who are, I would call it, unlikely to enjoy my quirk. Is it brainwashing? No, none of the sort. In fact, my quirk allows me to do a multitude of things. One of which is to observe. Observe? Yes. It's fairly complicated to explain, but suffice it to say, I can search this room without even looking at it. Can you? I can. For example, I know that those group of men behind me, about 25 feet, one of them is a little too drunk. And from what I can understand, I'm fairly certain he's about to get up. Her turning her head. One of the men sitting in the booth, he's stumbling a little too much. And there is where he does I try and knock back the rest of his beer and slam down their draft cup. Him gonna roar out a little loud as many of the patrons in the bar do a turn, staring at the man, who does bring his hand up when he does it a burp. However, that burp, it does cause him to jump a bit more. Him quickly running to the bathroom. He does talk about it. Yeah, he's been waiting for that. And that one's been a little loud. And they are ruining the atmosphere a little bit. Really? Interesting ability. How about you, since we're on the topic of quirks? I noticed that your hair doesn't seem normal. How do you know? It's not registering with the air the same way. Its density seems a little off. That's observant. Interesting. Yes. Suffice it to say, you can call me a pro. I won't say much other than that. My ability is tied to my hair, but whenever I do, her bring her hand up, and gonna twirl her finger around her hair. Deku watching on. As when the strand is pulled off, he doesn't register it hardening exposed to oxygen. And he does look down a little surprised, before he just set the bullet down and talk about it. That's one of her abilities. It is quite interesting, isn't it? No, I've never seen that before. It's quite nice to meet you, Kana. Likewise. However, I am curious about a few things. I'm supposed to be here in town, but my job's been a little iffy lately. Thinking about retiring, but I don't know what I could do about work. It's been stressful and I'm not really too sure. I've got plenty of money, so retiring early wouldn't be a problem, but I don't know. Perhaps I should go over a few more things before I do make a final decision. Then again, not like I'd have much to do with all that money. Really now. That is quite a shame. Though I am in a similar boat. Job doesn't really allow too much for personal time. You do understand. I do. Though, I do have to ask about the, girl. I don't know her. She was curious about the scar. Deku bring his hand up, and running his hand along his face, watching her expression. She's trying to read him, understand him, know what's on his mind. Though he does blatantly run his hand along the scar on his face, she just tried to ask about it. Her a little concerned about this. And Deku does express. It happened a long time ago. Something he'd rather not talk about. It was quite the nasty bit of business. But it was not good. It's from worse times, to say the least. Really, I'm sure you'll come out on top. Though, is your contact coming? My associate has yet to arrive. Though I'd say he's got 15 more minutes before our business is terminated. The two continuing to chat. Izuku, he does learn a little bit more. She is leading the Gaunt, a pro-hero with the Hero Committee and the Hero Association. He doesn't know much about her in the public light. However, what he does know about her right now is quite interesting. She's older. She's worried about her job, worried about going somewhere else, possibly retiring, transferring to another association business. He's not too sure. His life never really worked out too well for him to be interested in heroism, or know much about the inner workings of that part of society. But at the same time, he is curious a bit more about her. She's, if he had to guess, late 30s, maybe early 30s. She's well taken care of herself, that's for damn sure, but he doesn't know much else than that. And after 15 minutes does it pass, Deku, he does continue talking. Him still a little bit more intrigued about this woman. She's no nonsense, well aware of what she does want. And Deku, he does gotta bring his hand up, talking about it. Well, it does appear that he does have to go. Perhaps another time. Do you plan to be in town for very long? I do have business here. I know that. Then again, maybe we can meet for a drink. Bring his hand up, reaching into his jacket and pulling a card, expressing that this does have his mobile number. Perhaps they can talk a little bit more. Or would she find it more interesting if he got hers? What do you mean? Well, you're no nonsense. You're quite interesting to talk to. I know for a fact I can give you this card, and maybe you'll tighten back up a little bit more in the morning. Tighten back up? And what do you mean by that? Trust me, I've been around plenty of people. And I do to say, you're one of the more interesting ones I've met in a long time. You know what you want, you're well put together, and while you are having a crisis of confidence, I would like to say that you may not want to talk to me. You're a nice, mature lady, and I would like to say that you might not want to waste your time with someone like me. So getting your number might be the better option. Since I'm not sure if you might remember or even want to see this card in the morning. I see. So you think that I'm just going to be a, what? Talker? I don't think you're just a talker. I think you're a woman of action. And I don't blame you. If you think I'm a little, what's the right word here? Eccentric? I wouldn't say that. I'm well aware that I am a little odd, but at the same time, I know exactly what I want. And well, with business being so strange at the moment, I may have some time open. I can definitely say that. Try and take a bit more time off of work and see how it goes. See how things do work out. I'm not gonna be just some easy lady for you to get into bed. I never said that. But at the same time, it's like a bit of hunting. Like hunting. Yes. You have to work for it. Track down your prey, see what you can do, maybe find out a little bit more about them. The guy leaning in slightly, talking about it. Really? Is that what he is? A hunter? I wouldn't say that. Though I would definitely say I do find it fascinating. Seeing exactly what I can catch. Nagant's staring at Deku, and the two, they do stare each other down very seriously. Before he does, gonna bring up the card, asking her if she'd like to start the hunt. And she just doesn't smile at him. Before she's gonna turn and grab her purse, pulling out a pen and gonna write down her number, handing it over and giving a bit of a smile. Before Deku does bring up his hand and she's gonna pull back the card, talking about it. The thing about the hunt is, what is it? Sometimes the hunter does become the hunted. So be aware of that. Sometimes her bringing up the card, he doesn't expect the claws to come out. And, well, the prey might be more dangerous, especially if they catch him off guard. That's just part of the hunt. Kill or be killed. Survive. So you understand. Perhaps this will be interesting. Her staring at Deku. And whenever he does go to take the card, he does go to linger with her hand in his, talking about it. It was nice to meet her. Before he said, take the card and slip it into his jacket. Beginning to walk away. Leaving his Nagant does sit there for a second, finishing the rest of her drink and going to leave herself. And we do have later that night, where Izuku, he is on the phone with somebody, expressing to them while he does drive about how he's well aware as to what they had agreed to. Fact of the matter is, whoever they were supposed to send did not arrive within the time frame. He doesn't care if traffic was late. He doesn't care if they missed a fucking train. He had a deadline for them. He had something set. And with the fact that they did not meet the requirements he had for them, they will have to reschedule. Go on his time frame. The person saying something on the other end, and Deku does express, they're meeting on his terms. That is how it is. Fact of the matter is, if they do want him to take on a target, then they need to agree to his terms to meet. He doesn't do business solely over the phone. He likes to know who he's getting into bed with, who he's talking with, and who he's supposed to shoot. Things are simple, easy, and they get done. He doesn't miss a shot. They should know this. Fact of the matter is, right now, they're on his contract. And right now, he's going to terminate it if they don't agree to reschedule. They want this person dead? Well, guess what? They have to meet. And he'll tell them if he can get the job done or not. The price is non-negotiable. You want me to kill a pro? It's going to be that high. Deku hanging up, silently driving and thinking about a few things. And with that being said, I do hope you guys enjoyed and have an amazing day. I'll catch you guys in the next part.